My face won't show up on your background.
Who's that snake?
So there we go. Okay, so we are on now, and let's see if I can share that screen again. If I can find it. There we go. And see if we can get it to start doing all the other things I want it to do, because this is PowerPoint after all. All right, well, thank you for everybody for coming. And welcome to meeting number 368 of the Harpooners of the Sea Unicorn, as we observe the adventure of the Veiled Lodger. And little pre-meeting business to take care of. During this meeting, if you can, try to keep yourselves muted until either you're giving a toast or responding to one, or if you have a question or comment. And as a matter of fact, if you're doing this from a laptop, as it looks like most of you are doing, a little secret that's gone about is when you're muted, you can hit the space button on your laptop or your computer and temporarily unmute yourself and talk and do whatever else you need to do. And hopefully doing this will keep distracting noises down to a minimum.
You don't just hit it, you press and hold.
Correct. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Yes.
And
Okay.
It's not a button, it's a long thing.
Yeah, I bet you know about those. Okay.
It's a very long thing.
All right. So as we begin, let's go ahead and begin with the toast to the Queen. And that will be given to us by Mr. Adam Presswood. And if you would be so kind.
I will, if we're ready. To Her Imperial Majesty Victoria, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and of her other realms and territories, Queen, Empress of India, Defender of the Faith, long may she reign. God
save the Queen.
Here.
God save the Queen.
Oh,
Okay. And next on the agenda, I actually put this on the agenda this time rather than hoping I'd remember. Let's go ahead and begin something I call the breakout, which could also be called the meet and greet, the hobnob, or the mingle, whatever you want to call it. Since we got some new people on here, we may as well, get a little more friendly here. Myself, as you see on the name tag, I'm that guy who's been sending you all them emails, J. Andrew. I don't know. It's a living. Let's see. Next on my screen, I've got Bill Cochran. If you want to give yourself about 15 seconds to, say a little bit about, tell a little about yourself and your stuff with Sherlockia.
Okay, Bill Cochran. I've been president of the Occupancy Empty House for over 40 years. Don't even want to count that. And former editor of the BSJ. And
how come we can't hear you?
and the Occupancy Empty House. Turn up your hearing aid, Michael.
I don't have them in, but it's your voice.
Okay, I'm done.
Hey, watch the language, Kevin. Okay. Next on my screen, I've got Mr. Krishunas. You'd like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'm Rich Krishunas, Northville, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. Been a Sherlockian for about 3 years or so. Belong to the Ribston Pippins in Michigan. And as a result of Zoom, I belong to a lot of other science around the country.
Seems to be a lot of that going around, yes. Kevin, you're next on my list of people here in my little Brady Bunch layout, if you will. Yes, that would help.
Okay. Just making sure I'm unmuted. My name is Kevin Letts. I have been involved with this organization, I don't know. Probably, well, my first one was Blue Carbuncle. So just
December.
As this past December, and you just muted yourself again.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't know. My hand got off the space bar. I don't know. But anyway, and then I went to the St. Louis one, parallel case in the summertime last year. But I've been a Sherlockian for years, really. I mean, in one way or another. This is just the first time I've actually been more or less formal about it. But I mean, I've been watching the Jeremy. I pretty much grew up on Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Brad, I don't know how much introduction you need, to be honest, but just for some lacklusters like myself.
Okay, let's see. The space bar is working, I guess. Um, I'm from Peoria, Illinois, Brad Kiefover. This is my second Harpooners meeting. I can't remember when the first one was because it was probably the 90s at some point. Made it down to St. Charles. Yeah, I've been doing Sherlockiana in Illinois, St. Louis area for a very long time now, since the 80s. Currently, I've got 2 podcasts going, the Watsonian Weekly and Sherlock Holmes is Real. And that's kind of what's going on with me.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, Brad. And let's see, which way do I go with the next row here? Should I go with Mr. Foster or Mr. Getz? Who wants to volunteer first?
Randy.
You both got some nice backgrounds. John, you said something first, so go for it.
John Foster, St. Charles, one of the charter members of the Harpooners. I've been involved with Sherlockiana since about 77.
All righty. And Mr. Presswood, if you would be so kind, as you also started us off with the toast to Her Majesty Queen Victoria.
Yes, my name's Adam Presswood. I am coming at you tonight from the home of family in Ellsbury, Missouri, in Lincoln County. I consider myself a St. Louisan, having spent the last, 6 or 7 years at Washington University in UMSL, getting my undergrad and graduate degrees out of the way, but I'm temporarily hanging out until that job comes in post-graduation. So you've caught me in limbo. I joined the Parallel Case back when I was a WashU student. I discovered them right around the corner when they were still having their meetings at the Shafley branch of the St. Louis Public Library. And once shelter in place started and we converted to Zoom, I became a harpooner, and I guess an official one with that toast tonight. So this, I think, is my 4th harpoon meeting online.
Sounds about right, yeah. We might could go through about 4 back issues of the e-newsletter and verify that, perhaps. All righty. Mr. Zoom Monkey, if you'd be so kind.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm an official harpooner because I just don't get the point. But I consider myself an under-the-table Sherlockian. I don't seek any public recognition, and I think this is the reason I'm under the table.
At least by the end of the meeting.
Yes. Okay. Well, next on my screen, we've got the Blue Whale himself. If you'd like to say a few words.
A few words.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enough said from the president of our organization, which we call the Blue Whale. So, woohoo.
By the way, I'm trying to get this picture. I took a picture of a new bar in town it's in the streets of St. Charles, you know, where Noah's Ark used to be, for you who are locals. And it's called the Narwhal. So I was hoping Ed would be here tonight so we could tell him where it is and maybe have a officers meeting there or something.
Possibly. Yeah. Maybe
I got
he's
a
having
picture of
problems
it, but I
linking
can't
too.
figure out how to get the picture to you.
Have you been there?
No, I've been in front of it taking a picture.
What
Is
they
it-
have on their menu?
Boy, JT, I really like the way you've done your man cave there. It's really neat.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, let's see. Next on the file here, we have Randy. If you kindly talk about yourself.
There he is.
I'm Randy Getz, Noble Bachelors of St. Louis. I have been Sherlockian since, I don't know, sometime in the 70s. I live in University City, Missouri, St. Louis, and I bounce around to a number of these groups from time to time.
All right. Sounds good. And next on my bars here, I have Mr. Steve Mason, once again out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And Michael, by the way, I think they consider you to be the tip of the spear of the club, so that helps. But yeah, my name is Steve Mason. I actually
You mean
live
Waxenberg, right?
in yes. I live in Denton, Texas, which is part of the Metroplex. I'm the president of the crew of the Barklone Star. I've been it for 8 years now. I'm also the communications chair for the Beacon Society, the National Society for Educating Kids on Sherlock Holmes. And I'm one of the authors of the Baker Street Elementary, the comic strip that y'all get to see all the time. So,
All right. Thank you, Steve. And next on my screen here, I have Miss Charlene Biggs. Excuse me. There's no R in there.
Charlene.
Charlene. Yeah, Miss Biggs. Whatever I could do to make sure I don't, if I put extra R's in there, it won't wash. So.
Hi, I'm originally from Toronto. I'm a dual Canadian-British citizen. Lived 13 years in London, England as well. Currently in beautiful Sudbury, Ontario, in Northern Ontario, Canada. And I've been a Sherlockian since I was 12 years old. My father was also a Sherlockian.
All right.
Hey, you win.
Home of the Sudbury Wolves.
Hey, yes. Oh, I'm impressed.
It wasn't Jay Chandler Briggs, was it? Oh, that's Briggs with an R.
Yeah.
That pesky R again.
Do you play that piano behind you?
What?
Charlene,
So what was that?
do you play that piano behind you?
It's what I do for a living.
Really?
All right.
In a bar?
No, I'm a classical pianist.
Oh, cool.
I'm a concert pianist. Yeah.
And what's your dog's name?
I've got two, actually. I'm not sure which one you saw. I have a Shepherd
Like a
Husky.
German Shepherd.
Yeah, that's Kai. And I have a Ridgeback, and his name's Kinda.
Kendall?
All right.
Kinda.
Kenda.
I'm still
That was
thinking I'm thinking you could play classical piano in a bar too. Right kind
It
of bar.
has been known, actually. For the Sudbury Symphony, we do a downtown crawl fundraiser every year, except this one because of COVID. But yeah, so I have actually played concerts in a couple
Now,
of
what
bars in
town is
downtown.
this?
Sudbury,
In
Ontario, Canada.
Ontario. Okay.
Yes, we're finally going international.
Yeah, cool.
Do you play any Wagner, like operas, or you play often?
Funny you should say that. Yes, I am the orchestra leader and play from the keyboard for Opera for a Cause every year for the last 7.
Very nice.
All right. Well, let's keep moving along here. We've only got 2 more to go. Wayne, you're next on my screen here. Hello again.
I live in Chesterfield. Been Sherlockian since, I guess, officially since '87 when I joined the Noble Bachelors. Member of the Harpooners, occupants. Just haven't been over to Carbondale in a long time because we're not allowed to, right?
All right. Thank you very much, Wayne. And Tom, I'm sorry you're last. Hopefully that's saving the best.
I'm here. I'm Tom Kramer. I joined the Harpooners in 1989 during the heyday of Sherlockiana in Missouri, which was in the 90s. I belonged to most of these other groups. And I'm from Alton, Illinois, which is a suburb of St. Louis. Originally, though, I'm from Peoria, from Keycoffer's land. 77 years ago today, I was born at St. Francis Hospital, and he knows what I'm talking about.
All right.
That's my claim to fame.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Now we got that shared and recording and everything, so we have this for posterity and everything. So let's go ahead and go through some announcements here, and hopefully my PowerPoint will be working this time. Our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, the 18th of September. And if we happen to get lucky and can actually meet for real at PO's, dinner will be starting at 18:59 or 6:59 p.m. for you landlubbers. And hopefully we'll have our virtual meeting like we usually do. The story will be The Adventure of Shoscombe Old Place. The presenter is still open. In fact, we still need presentations for the rest of this year for the casebook of Sherlock Holmes, from Shoscombe Old Place to The Retired Colorman in October. Could use a subject for our official HSU birthday in November. And of course, Mr. Foster has the topic for Blue Carbuncle when we come in December. And then, of course, starting next year, we'll be implementing the modified Baring-Gould order. If you're wanting details on how that works, if you haven't heard me speak about that earlier, you can go to harpooners.wordpress.com/proposal19. And of course, we are accepting presentations on the internet. Just go to harpooners.wordpress.com/edicts for our edicts and expectations page and more info on how to submit one of those things. Okay, some other announcements. Normally, let's see, I had this written down very well, a better speech on this. Most of the Sherlockian events that you'd be finding at harpooners.wordpress.com/sh events are likely postponed currently due to the COVID-19 stuff, and hence that's the reason why I don't have that site up anymore. But one exception to that is the Parallel Case Society, which has pretty much moved on to doing virtual meetings all the time and are also going to a monthly format. And so this September the 12th, they will be observing the Solitary Cyclist starting at 1 p.m. I would suggest you go to their website. You can Google Parallel Case of St. Louis and look for their Wix site and get some more information, as well as how to RSVP for them. In October, they will be looking at the Priory School, October 10th. In fact, they meet on the second Saturday of every month. November, it'll be The Adventure of Black Peter. And in December, it will be The Adventure of Charles Augustus Milverton. And, oh, in fact, there's the website there, and you can email it parallelcasestl@gmail.com if you want to RSVP for it. Okay, this is a good long one, and there's only like, what is today, the 21st? So you got like a week and a half to do this one if you still want to. But the Crew of the Bark Lone Star, the Sherlock Holmes Society of Dallas-Fort Worth, is producing their 4th book for their 50th anniversary. This year, members may submit an adventure involving Holmes and Watson solving a personal ad from one of the Victorian paper's agony columns. You can use any personal ad available to you from a paper from the time of Holmes and Watson's careers. They do have a list of personal ads that have been researched and decoded by their crew from various sources. You're welcome to use any of that are on the list, and I've got a place where you can get that as well, by the way. Story should be 3,000 to 5,000 words, which is the average length of a short story. Obviously, a shorter story is fine. His story will be edited by 1 or 2 member volunteer editors, but only for grammar or typos. They will not edit the content of the story. Project is not limited to those members in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Any member is welcome to submit a pastiche. And here's the thing, they plan to finalize the anthology by the end of the calendar year. So if you want to get into this, submit your entries by August the 31st. And the final product will be put together in book form and posted on the website, shared with all society members as a PDF file. Plan on publishing copies of the book for those who submit a pastiche in the anthology. And you can view a copy of that list at one of our little pages, harpooners.wordpress.com/bulletin-board. And until further notice, all entries should be submitted to mason.steve8080@gmail.com. Steve, do you have anything to add to that?
You know, the only thing that I would is obviously we'll accept an entry from anybody. They don't have to be a member of our society. So if anybody from the Harpooners would like to submit something, and while we were asking for pastiches, if you want to write a poem or a limerick or something, you're welcome to submit that. We're getting a variety of different things. And as you said, the final version we put up on our website for free, so anybody can get it. But if you do submit something to us, we are going to print out copies of the book, and we will give you a copy of the book. We don't sell them, but that'll be your Christmas gift. You can say that you're now a published author if you submit something to us. So. And you know, since it's for free, you know, that shows the quality that it'll be. So.
Yep. But, you get what you pay for.
Is that an endorsement or what?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm actually very proud of the ones that have been submitted so far, and we've got actually a couple of professional authors that have submitted pastiches already. So we're really excited about it.
Alrighty. Well, next up on our announcements is the Sherlock Holmes magazine, which is still available, well, sort of available. As you've probably noticed, if you stay on top of social media, the first issue was sold out even after their second printing. This will be a quarterly. In fact, I got my first issue here. Okay, but this will be a quarterly publication. Subscriptions will soon be available for issue 2 onward, effective the 23rd of September. Subscription prices in the UK, £26. In Europe, 42 pounds, and elsewhere, 43 pounds. That is one heavy subscription, I must admit. You can go to sherlockholmesmag.co.uk/subscribe to stay updated and to subscribe and possibly even to order issue number 2. Incidentally, this picture that's on the side is not an actual copy of any of the magazines. Just somebody on Twitter, in fact, it was Carmichael 1971 on Twitter that made this a good reminder of what's coming up. Said August 23rd. I thought it was September 23rd. Better double check the website and don't believe what you hear from me. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, are there any other announcements that need to be? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just an FYI, you're talking about the Holmes magazine, the subscription. I just.
You're cutting out, Kevin. Might want to.
Okay.
There we go.
You can start subscribing for like your quarterly on August 23rd. So
okay,
Monday.
Yes, I don't know why. I don't know why. Yeah,
Sunday.
It is Sunday. Monday? It is Monday.
Sunday.
Yes. Next at DQ. Okay. So I was correct when I did that. Okay, should have gone with August. Okay. Any other announcements?
The Enola Holmes show on Netflix starts in September. If anybody's into those books, have become pretty popular. Now it's going to be a movie on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Plus
September.
the Lellenberg, unless it gets stopped by the estate lawsuit.
I think a lot of people have been caught up in that one and kind of taking the attitude of Leslie Klinger when he sued the estate. Or the estate sued him, one or the other.
Well, it's still pending, and there's no ruling from the court as of yet.
They're still running ads and trailers online and on Facebook. So
I think John Lellenberg, who's the attorney for this state, has indicated that they don't really want to stop it. They just would like for them to get permission, or at least acknowledge the estate. So, if not pay. So I think they're going to allow it to go forward. I think they just want some money out of the deal.
A friendly correction, Steve. Lellenberg's not an attorney, but like Mycroft, he is the government. He is the North American representative of the Doyle estate.
Okay, I stand corrected. I thought he was actually their attorney too. I knew he was their agent. But...
His background was he worked, I believe, for the CIA before he retired.
He was an arms dealer.
Yeah, not somebody to fool with.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Lancelin Green.
Okay, well, moving right along. The summary for our story this month, The Adventure of the Veiled Lodger, first published in Liberty Magazine in the United States on the 22nd of January, 1927, and in the Strand Magazine in the United Kingdom in February of 27 as well. Holmes is visited by Mrs. Marylou, a landlady from South Brixton who has an unusual lodger who never shows her face. She saw it once accidentally and it was hideously mutilated. This woman, formerly very quiet, has recently taken to cursing in the night, shouting, "Murder, murder," and "You cruel beast, you monster." Also, her health has taken a turn for the worse, and she is wasting away. Mrs. Marylou has brought this case to Holmes's attention as her tenant, Mrs. Ronder, will not involve the clergy or the police in something she would like to say. She has told her landlady to mention Abbess Parva, knowing that Holmes would understand the reference. That story summary adapted from an article in Wikipedia, and the illustrations as you see them here from Frederick D. Steele and Frank Wiles are gotten from the Adventure of the Veiled Lodger entry in the Arthur Conan Doyle Encyclopedia. Fun reading. Okay. So with that, before we get into the presentation, let's go ahead and get our toast to Holmes, and that will be given by Mr. Michael Bragg, if you would, please.
Although we have much to be thankful for from Dr. Watson and the literary agent Doyle, without Sherlock Holmes, almost forgot his name there for a second. Without Sherlock Holmes, we would have nothing. to talk about it. Here's to Sherlock Holmes.
Here.
God save the Queen.
Here, here.
I worked all day on that.
All righty. Well, let's see if I can share this again. And we've got the toast. So next, get this to turn.
How about the jelly?
Only if you get butter on there first. Okay. Let's see. We can get started on the presentation. We actually have a couple of presentations today. John, do you have, should we wait till we finish with mine, since I think you said you have a quiz?
Yeah, mine doesn't have anything to do with the story, so not directly. So if you want to do the story, your paper first would be great.
Okay. Well, it's not really a paper. I actually, Mr. Krishunas was good to point this out to me. And let's see if I can find it here again. Let's try this. So it is something that Baker Street Elementary, or the crew of the Bark Lone Star, has come out with several times. A thing called Life and Times in Victorian London. Thank you very much, Mr. Mason, for giving us permission to use this, by the way. And it is the Life and Times in Victorian London, number 52, Step Right Up, first published almost 3 years ago in August of 17. Welcome to topic number 52. Today, Master Paget and I will look at the Big Top, known as the circus, which are very popular during the Victorian period. In The Adventure of the Veiled Lodger, Holmes and Watson will meet Mrs. Ronder, a circus performer who will be maimed by the lion who killed her husband 7 years earlier. Sherlock will note Ronder owned a circus, rivaling the well-known shows of Wombwell and Sanger. The description of the Ronder circus, however, suggests more similarities with Sanger's than Wombwell's traveling menageries. Circus' histories trace back to ancient Rome, where men and women could commingle while watching races, equestrian stunts, and mock battles were performed in permanent arenas. Very scary picture there, if you ask me. The fall of the Roman Empire ended the arena's prominence, but performers who had their beginnings there, including animal traders and troubadours, took to traveling from village to village, performing at local fairs until the late 1700s. The first modern circus was developed by Philip Astley, a trick rider who formed the Astley Amphitheater with a ring designed for optimum centrifugal and centripetal forces for horseback riding stunts. In addition to trick riding, performances included acrobats and large-scale reenactments of such events as battles, floods, or other natural disasters. Didn't even have to do a motion picture thing for that. Such shows spread from England to continental Europe and then to the United States. U.S. circus promoters such as J. Purdy Brown and P.T. Barnum introduced such innovations as the three-ring circus, Big Top, and travel by railroad rather than horse-pulled wagons. British and European circuses continued to utilize only one ring with a tent, using 4 poles instead of the taller center pole of the American Big Top. Lord George Sanger and his brother started their own touring circus with family friends as performers in England in 1854. 4 years later, he had added a number of animal acts and continued touring, setting up their tent after a parade through the streets of the town. His parade was impressive, with 160 horses, 11 elephants, a dozen camels, and about 330 people. Always the showman, he once followed Queen Victoria's military escort through London. George Wombwell's circus, on the other hand, was best described as a traveling menagerie. Starting with 2 boas, which he exhibited in taverns, he expanded his collection to more and larger exotic animals, including elephants, giraffes, various big cats, primates, and even a rhinoceros billed as the real unicorn of Scripture. At its height, he had 3 different menageries traveling the country. Given the difference in climates for most of these animals, their death rate was high, and he would often have those that expired sold to taxidermists or medical schools. He was, however, not above displaying the dead exhibit. On one occasion, an elephant died, and a rival menagerie advertised itself as having the only live elephant. Not to be outdone, Womble advertised the opportunity to see a dead elephant. The public responded by flocking to his exhibit. As a rival of Wombwell and Sanger, Ronder's circus would have been extensive indeed, with a large menagerie of animals, Sahara King being only one of many big cats. Numerous acrobats such as Leonardo's and Mrs. Ronder's, trick horseback riding, and clowns such as Griggs. Having traveled and been known throughout the country, the tragic death of its owner would have been news carried by both national and local newspapers, and easily captured the interest of the world's most famous consulting detective. And so we have completed topic 52 in our series. Yes, but we'll be back with another topic soon. And of course, there you see the references for this topic, which you can see for yourself as well. And this was, let's see, The Life of Time created through the ingenuity and hard work of Joe Fay, Lise Sherwood, is that pronounced Faber?
Aubrey is fine.
Fabre, okay. And Rusty Mason and Steve Mason, thank you very much for giving us permission to do that. And voila. Here we go. Chats. I'm going to try to reconnect. Okay.
No, I am gonna just mention, if people enjoy that, we actually have I think close to 100 of those actually up on our society website. If you haven't seen them, so Lee Sherwood Fabre, every month she started with our society, but I know that a lot of other societies carry them. She puts an article out of the life and times of Sherlock Holmes, and so she was gracious enough to allow us to adapt those to the Baker Street Elementary. Because we realized kids would much rather probably read it in a comic form than they would, just reading a straight article. And there's also a couple other Victorian London websites that have given us permission to take articles off their website and convert them to the Baker Street Elementary. So we have about 100 of them up on our website, and a lot of kids enjoy them because it's a great way to learn more about Victorian times.
Very interesting stuff indeed. And of course, I still enjoy the Baker Street Elementary cartoons and getting those together every week. So, in fact, you'll be starting year 7 pretty soon here too. And about that time, we'll be reprinting year 4, and we could probably keep these in 3-year increments and do year 1 again. So,
yeah,
hope you're ready for that, Steve.
We're about to put out our 3rd full-length comic book, which will be or actually it'll be the 4th one. It'll be based off of the Boscombe Valley mystery. So no deaths though. Since it is elementary school kids, we get frowned on that.
All right. Well, John, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
The Veiled Lodger, I don't know, for some reason made me think of the disguises in the Sherlock Holmes canon. How often Sherlock Holmes used disguises. And so first thing I'm going to do is read an introduction, and then I have a little quiz. Most of the information is taken from the Arthur Conan Doyle Encyclopedia. And then I would like to have other people discuss a little bit about other places disguises may have been used in the canon. So don't blurt out your answers. I'll read all the questions first. You can write them down, and then I'll read the answers after. I think there's 16 of them, I believe, and just see how good you are at guessing what story and what the disguise was in the story. So a slight introduction. Holmes would have made an actor, a rare one. His expression, his manner, and his very soul seemed to vary with every fresh part he assumed. The stage lost a fine actor, even as science lost an acute reasoner when he became a specialist in crime. He had a thoroughness of the true artist. He had at least 5 small refuges in different parts of London in which he was able to change his personality. Some of these are going to be pretty easy. Some of them are going to be a little bit difficult. Holmes thought it is the first quality of a criminal investigator that he should be thorough of a disguise, but he failed to recognize Jefferson Hope disguised as Mrs. Sawyer and Hugh Boone, whom he said he had observed often in the streets of the city. So the first question is, and I've kind of jockeyed around the quiz a little bit, so you'll have to kind of think it through and then write down what do you think the character Holmes played was and what story it was. So number one, a relative of Popeye or maybe Nelson.
Lord Nelson, you mean?
Lord Nelson, Lord Admiral Nelson. Okay, everybody, I haven't seen anybody, well, a couple people are writing. So, second one, an old relative of Popeye or Lord Admiral Nelson. Again, the character and maybe the story it was from. Okay, the third one, tippled too much to stay on his horse. Or if you don't know the word tippled, drank too much to stay on his horse. Number four, a pleasant priest, nonconformist clergyman. I see a lot of crossed eyes and questioning looks, which I would have had too. Number five, an everyday pair of shoes. See a smile on Brad's face.
Because he is one.
A doddering opium smoker. That one's probably going to be about the easiest one. Number seven, a well-respected man of the cloth who may like pizza. Number eight, an old bibliophile or Tom Crammond. Okay, number nine might be pretty easy, especially for movie lovers. Cartoon character from a Disney movie. Number 10, may refer to a town in England associated with racing or something around your neck that you might wear around your neck depending on how you spell it.
John, these are
11.
evil.
I'm sorry?
I said, these are evil, some of them.
Number 11, a French migrant worker. Michael, your head hasn't moved the whole time.
Huh?
Yeah. Number 12, an unemployed British worker. Number 13, can't see well enough to shoot the ducks or to tie a fly. Number 14, a female AARP member or Michael Bragg in drag. Number 15, perhaps an easy one also, a city in Illinois and Missouri. So that's 15 times that we know of that Sherlock Holmes wore disguises in the canon. So has everybody done all their writing?
I cannot think of a single detail I have failed to overlook.
Thank you, Watson.
It's Andrew's fault. He didn't put in there we had to think.
So back to the question, and then if anybody wants to see if they can guess the answer, we'll go from there. Number one, a relative of Popeye or Lord Admiral Nelson? Okay. He dressed as a sailor in the Sign.
Yes, that's right.
Would Black Peter also count?
Well, did Sherlock Holmes dress as a sailor in there?
He purported to be putting together a whaling ship crew.
I'm actually, I mean, yeah, but I'm talking about where he actually got into a disguise. Number two, an old relative of Popeye or Lord Admiral Nelson. Also from Sign, where he dressed up as an asthmatic old master mariner. Okay, number three, drank too much to stay on a horse.
Drunken groom.
Is that the groom from A Scandal in Bohemia?
It is. 1 point for you.
Who said that?
I said drunken groom.
Yeah, Bill said drunken groom first.
Bill gets half a point, but he didn't name the story.
Who doesn't know that story?
Hey, I wrote down
Pleasant
ultimate 15
priest.
times, thinking I'll get it right.
A pleasant priest, a nonconformist clergyman.
Scandal in Bohemia, priest.
Yeah, Scandal in Bohemia. An everyday pair of shoes.
Common loafers.
Common loafer in what story?
Don't remember.
It was in Braille Cornet.
Okay.
A doddering opium smoker.
Rascally Lasker.
What?
Rascally Lasker?
Okay, what story?
The one with Hugh Boone. I can't remember the name of the story.
That was from
Twisted
Twisted Lip.
Lip.
Twisted Lip.
Yes.
A well-respected man of the cloth who may like pizza.
Italian priest. And that
Italian priest from?
Fina.
No problem.
Right.
Final problem, yeah.
See, these are getting easier and easier.
Yeah, right.
For a while.
An old bibliophile or Tom Crammond.
No book collector, and that's from Empty
The
House.
Empty House.
Yep. Cartoon character from a Disney movies.
Oh, no.
Captain Basil.
Ooh.
Basil of
Ooh.
Baker Street.
Yeah.
May refer to a town associated with racing or something worn around your neck, depending on how you spell it.
Muffler?
A plumber with a rising business named Ascot in Charles.
Milverton.
Charles Milverton.
Milverton.
A French migrant worker.
Lady Frances Carfax.
Yep. An unshaven French ouvrier. Unemployed British worker. Not because of COVID-19.
Okay, COVID-18.
Yeah.
1819.
In Mazarin Stone, he was a workman looking for a job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't see well enough to shoot the ducks or tie a fly.
Blind beetle. I don't know.
Curly. And they said, what's the
An
matter?
old
He said,
sporting man in Mazarin Stone.
and he said, I got my eyes closed.
An old sporting man in Mazarin Stone.
Oh,
Female AARP member or Michael Bragg in drag.
Don't picture it. Don't picture it.
Okay, he was disguised as an elderly woman in Mazarin Stone.
Okay.
They're all Mazarin. Jeez.
Michael,
Okay, an easy one here. City in Illinois or Missouri?
Springfield.
O'Fallon?
Anybody?
Springfield.
Springfield.
Columbia.
Altamont.
Oh,
Irish American Spy. Okay. How many got more than 2? How many got more than 3? How many got more than 4? All right, Kevin. Good job.
Kevin is the man.
Yeah.
Andy will be sending you the check.
We'll be taking a poll first.
Okay, just some of the other stories I came up with disguise being used in there, obviously in Scandal.
There's a check right there.
Sorry?
There's the check.
Yeah. Obviously in Scandal, there were disguises by Irene Adler and Nikita Mohemia. Case of Identity. Twisted Lip, obviously. Lady Francis Carfax. Shaskamo Place. Stockbroker's Clerk. Resident Patient, and Solitary Cyclist. Does anybody think of any others?
You're right. I didn't tell anybody to think.
Okay, that was the quiz. Thanks for playing along.
All right.
So this is a lot harder than the Watsonian treasure hunt.
Yes.
Is it only in the Jeremy Brett TV version that he goes in disguise for the Norwood Builder? It's not in the actual story, is it?
Right.
What was his disguise in Norwood Builder?
In the
He was a homeless guy.
Yeah, he goes kind of undercover as a vagrant to get information. But I don't think that's in the actual story.
Yeah, I don't think
No, it's not.
Just in the Grenada adaptation.
Because in the Jeremy Brett show, they actually have Oldacre killing another homeless guy, and his bones are the ones that are in the fire. Whereas in the story, it's an animal like a rabbit, they think, or something. So, so you're right. He dresses up as a homeless person to try to find out who might have been the homeless guy that got killed.
Can I ask a few questions about the story proper?
Sure. On the Veiled Lodger?
Yes.
Tell you what, if we can get the toast to Holmes or toast to Watson out of the way first, then maybe we could begin that along with our regular discussion of that. And that toast will be by Mr. Wayne Flynn, if you would be so kind.
I want to thank Dr. Watson. Usually displays Holmes as the cold, calculating logician. And today he's shared with us Holmes's human side. To Dr. Watson.
To Dr. Watson.
Here, here.
Here.
We're here.
All right. And so we can begin some discussion here. What were your questions there, Mr. Cochran?
Well, the story, I noticed some things. For example, when we open up, usually in these stories, Watson's always complaining about Holmes's smoking habits. But in this story, it's reversed. When the story opens, Holmes says something to Watson about, you can smoke if you wish. Mrs. Marlowe does not object to tobacco, Watson, if you wish to indulge in your filthy habits.
Right.
Okay, her name is Mary Lowe. Is that an oxymoron? Does that qualify? Mary and Lowe? If you're Mary, can you be Lowe? If you're Lowe, can you be Mary? Okay, that kind of bugged me. And then that little deal with Holmes looking at a lady who maybe 7 years earlier might have thought about suicide. I mean, all this stuff happened in the past. And then Holmes does that thing about your life's not your own. It's a very noble thing, you know, and he's really passionate about that. And those are just things that kind of were, to me, out of the ordinary in this story. And like, as he pointed out in the toast, he made Holmes very human. For once.
Yeah. For once.
Seem to have quite a few moments like that in the case book.
As far as the smoking, don't you think Holmes was just trying to get a dig in as Watson walked in the door?
Could be.
Because Watson had made so many comments about it in the stories.
Yeah, constantly in the story. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Reversal for all the mentions of that 15% solution, 7% solution, excuse me.
That's
it was the 15% solution that he could get out of some dude from Georgia, as I recall, right?
Inflation.
I was thinking Coca-Cola myself, but
Diet Coke is 17%. So there you go.
Well, on your question about, Holmes showing a little more sympathy and everything, I know there's some people that make the argument that since this story was at the very tail end, pretty much, of Doyle's writings, that since he was more wrapped up in the spiritualism, and he had, you know, lost so many family members in World War I that he was more willing to make Holmes look more humanized toward the end. So I don't know if that's true, but and I think in that kind of what the Enola estate is making the argument about with this Enola Holmes is that Holmes had changed his personality by the time the casebook came around and was a more human figure.
Well, I believe it was Bill that one time wrote an excellent paper on how after Reichenbach, Holmes came back a different person too.
Does.
Right. I know there's some people that think it was a different Holmes, that he was impersonating the real Holmes.
Was it the blonde locks?
Maybe it was all the clues on the Abbey Road album or something. I don't know.
If you play it backwards and watch The Wizard of Oz at the same time, you'll learn who he really is.
I think one thing, most writers either, as they go through their careers, you find most writers either soften or either they get more belligerent. They don't, very few people if you look through their whole list of works where you'd see them as the same person, they tend to change. I think lots of people soften as they get older.
Well, he was very human in The Lion's Mane too when he realized he'd almost killed Watson, you know, in the process.
Yeah.
The Lion's Mane.
Devil's Foot.
Devil's Foot, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Lion's Mane was the octopus in the fresh water, yeah.
Yeah. Well, brings up an interesting point when you bring that one up, because when I was doing some research for this, I found an interesting bit of trivia, supposedly, from the Baker Street Fandom Wiki, where they said, according to the Baker Street Wiki, Veiled Lodger is the only story in the canon that does not feature a criminal case to solve.
Well,
but
yeah.
couldn't that be said of The Lion's Mane as well, the other lion story?
Right.
Other than the fact that they were investigated, looked like a crime until it turns out it was an animal that did it.
Well, this was kind of like Javis Wilson also, too, because she comes there complaining because this lady who's paying her rent doesn't come out. Who cares? She's paying her rent. You know, Javis Wilson came to complain because they dissolved the Redheaded League and I don't get to make any money anymore.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about that statement from Wiki, because I mean, I'm just thinking on the top of my head, the Noble Bachelor, was there actually a crime committed with that? I mean,
no.
Well, you know, I think it was to determine whether or not it was a crime, but the guy really needed to be punished anyway, so he beat the snot out of him as he left.
Well, he threatened to, you know. But a case of identity, I don't know that there was necessarily a crime in that one.
Well,
it was morally wrong.
It was morally wrong, but I remember Ed, I wish Ed was here. Ed said something, there was something about that. I remember years ago when we did the stories, we've done them 6, 7 times. Ed, being a barrister, said something about that there could have been a crime in case of identity, but I forgot what it was. How the guy can be specifically charged with the fact that
Obtaining of affection or something like that.
Obtaining property by false pretenses.
Ah.
In Michigan, there's a statute where you obtain property by making a false statement, and so in effect, he was getting the money. James Windebank was getting the benefit of the money from Mary Sutherland.
Right.
Brad, was this the shortest story in the canon?
It might be. I forget.
Be short.
So what would be the crime in A Scandal in Bohemia?
Blackmail.
Yep.
Yeah, burglary, all kinds of things going on in that
There's
story.
that too, yeah.
Yellowface didn't really have any crime.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. That you just the mask, that's not a crime.
The most serious crime in Scandal in Bohemia was vandalism and arson, and it was committed by Sherlock Holmes throwing the burning rocket through the window.
Well, and that's what I was leading to, is that Holmes was not asked to solve a crime in that one. He was actually perpetrating a crime a little bit.
Yeah.
But now, refresh my memory though. In A Scandal in Bohemia, had blackmail actually occurred, or just the potential?
No, it hadn't occurred. It was just that the prince was afraid it was going to happen.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so.
Yeah. Because
Good clarification.
He was guilty, therefore he thought they might blackmail him.
The other crimes in Scandal in Bohemia were really committed by the king, because he had broken into Irene Adler's place and
Got her waylaid.
yeah.
So for whoever answered or asked the question, yes, the Veiled Lodger is the shortest short story. It had 4,474 words.
We've been locked up at COVID too long if people are counting.
Several years ago, I wrote an article for the Serpentine News about all the how many words were in each story and everything. So I have a spreadsheet that shows all of them. That's the value of Word. I converted all the PDFs to Word, and it was able to count them real easily.
Oh, yeah.
Has anyone thought to keep track of the number of cases where Holmes doesn't investigate, but the story is just willingly given to him?
No.
This seemed like one in a long list of stories where the solution is either just sort of related to him voluntarily or discovered in a letter or something like that, without a lot of activity on his part. Not that I mind, it's just a pretty distinct difference from some of the others.
Lacking in the deduction reasoning aspect?
I suppose. Although, I mean, he did make the connections to the clues that she sent him in terms of the name of the, what was it, the name of the town where the tragedy had happened 7 years before that she sent. And another couple of turns, she said Holmes will know immediately when he reads these. So he did at least do that much, but beyond that, it was pretty much made easy for him once he got there. There are several that are like that, where they're like, okay, here's what happened. Just sit and listen.
All right, so since we're playing trivia, I have to ask. So, not counting the 4 novels or novellas, what was the longest story in words, in a number of words?
I would guess Speckled.
Nope.
Nope. I just wanted to be first.
Yes. I wouldn't have guessed this. I'm sorry?
Wisteria Lodge?
No.
Milverton?
Nope. I'll tell you, it's the Naval Treaty, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
The thing you said about reading real quick, when you mentioned, Mason, when you mentioned that you put them all into Word, Word now, I guess a lot of you are aware, Word, when you write a document, you can ask it to read the document aloud, which means if you put anything of the canon into Word, you can have it, you got the story on tape, so to speak, because Word will read it.
Adobe PDF will do that for you too. I think at least the professional one will. I don't know about the reader, but all right. The other trivia, and nobody will know the exact, but just approximately, not counting spaces, how many characters are in the entire 60 stories?
All of them?
All of them, yeah. Everything from A to Z.
One real character, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. 2,878,000 approximately.
Does that include the characters, the runes from the Dancing Men story?
I did not count those, no, because.
See.
Good catch, Besford.
Well, geez, if you're not going to be.
It's bad enough that I used those characters for one of our Reigate Squares puzzles some years ago, too, so. Reigate Squares, by the way, for those who are not familiar, is a lettered version of Sudoku.
Yeah.
And you just take the letter, after you figure out the grid where all the letters go, then you take the letters. Okay, what is the answer to the trivia question this time around? So, okay. You can find that on our newsletter, by the way, every month at whalingnews.wordpress.com. Nice little advertisement for us there. Okay, any other final business? Any meetings coming up?
I have a question / riddle.
Yes.
How many characters in the canon could walk into a Peoria, Illinois grocery store this week and not be turned away as they are?
Well, we know the lady in this story would not be turned away.
Yep, she's good.
The girl from Yellowface.
Oh.
Holmes and Watson in Milverton.
Well, they're wearing those masks that are like up here. They're like eye masks.
King of Bohemia.
Oh, I think he's wearing the eye mask too. He doesn't have, he's not covering his lower half.
Twisted lip.
It is a mask.
It's something.
I don't have specific names, but I'm gonna bet a whole lot of Mormons, because when they were making the trek across the Great West, they were probably all wearing bandanas to protect their nose, and because they were riding in a wagon train, basically.
Well, at least the Avenging Angels.
Yeah.
I don't know about the woman from the Veiled Lodger though, because didn't it say that you could still see her mouth?
At least according to the illustrations.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Guy Fawkes.
You could see her eyes, but I think the part that got chewed off was covered. But Watson describes her as having beautiful eyes, so her veil was probably just covering below the eyes. So she could go into a grocery store in Peoria.
And there's the COVID guy.
Yeah.
Guy Fawkes and the COVID guy.
Okay, Brad, what's the answer?
Well, that was it. I think it was her. As far as I know.
I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head.
Alrighty. Well, as I was trying to say earlier, is there any other Sherlockian business or any other meetings or anything else we need to look at or talk about? Any other questions?
I just want to follow up on a comment that Bill made regarding your life is not your own, keep your hands off of it. I think we all need to heed that advice in these dark times. And that passage in Veiled Lodger was an inspiration for Mitch Cullen in writing the book A Slight Trick of the Mind, which was transformed into the film Mr. Holmes with Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
And I think that the concept of self-harm is actually a theme in the canon that somebody could write a pretty darn good paper about.
Yep.
Maybe
So
sometime coming up. Go ahead.
And Michael, that's a really good observation. I was going to say, if anybody's really bored, tomorrow afternoon, most Saturdays, Monica Schmidt from Iowa hosts a movie, on Zoom that you can sign in and watch a movie. She's shown a bunch of the different ones, the Basil Rathbone and everything else. And so she's actually showing one of the Russian Sherlock Holmes series tomorrow. But before that, we're actually going to perform a radio play that I actually wrote in high school about Sherlock Holmes. And so a group of us are going to perform that live tomorrow on the Zoom. So if anybody,
Baltimore thing tomorrow?
Yeah, the Baltimore meeting's at noon, and then Monica's movie thing starts at 3 o'clock Central Time. So the Baltimore thing should be plenty done by then.
Okay.
What's the Baltimore thing?
It's the SOBs, the
Sherlockians of
Sherlockians
Baltimore, yes.
So.
Not the sons of certain people.
You fit in, Michael.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we will close with 221B, which will be read to us by Mr. Rich Krishenis. If you're ready there, sir.
Ready. Here dwell together still two men of note, who never lived and so can never die. How very near they seem, yet how remote, that age before the world went all awry. But still the game's afoot for those who, with ears attuned to catch the distant view halloo. England is England yet, for all our fears, only those things the heart believes are true. A yellow fog swirls past the window pane as night descends upon the fabled street. A lonely hansom splashes through the rain. The ghostly gas lamps fail at 20 feet. Here, though the world explode, these two survive, and it is always 1895.
Here, here.
God save the Queen.
Cheers.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for putting up with my company as well. And hopefully we can see you again next month for Shascom Old Place.
Great to see everyone.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me come.